Hey everybody, it's Joey, PokemonTCG. Hope you guys are having a good day, a good week, good weekend. So today we are going to be announcing the winners of my 2 booster box giveaway of OP10. I let this one cook for a little bit longer because I wanted to see a few more entries. And in fact, we had 199 entries, which is not honestly that much. I was surprised. I had, there's about 1,000 people that watched the video, so I thought there was going to be at least more people that did enter the giveaway, that would enter the giveaway. And in fact, we only had 200. So again, guys, the next giveaway, that means you guys have a really, really good chance of winning. So 1 in 100%, 1 in 100 individuals, that's a pretty good odd for a free entry. And the winners are Corwin09M and Francisco Rodriguez BL3II. Congratulations, you guys. Send an email of your address to valuetcg4@gmail.com. Hopefully you guys are in the US. This was a US only giveaway, as most, if all of my giveaways are. It was put into the video description, so hopefully you guys saw that when you guys entered. And if you guys are in the US, congratulations. I will be sending a box to you guys. And how this is going to work is, Corwin, you won the unsealed version, the open box with the law leader, and Francisco, you won the sealed box. So hopefully there's a manga in there for you. So congratulations, guys. And for those of you guys who didn't win, we do these giveaways honestly all the time, so keep watching, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm going to be doing another one of these giveaways very, very soon. So congratulations, guys. And what I want to talk about in the video today is what Corwin asked in his awesome question. He asked, with the announcement of rotations from a collector's point of view, what do you think will happen with the older set values, singles and sealed stuff? And I think this is an absolutely awesome question, so we are going to be making a video about his question today. Obviously, like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Let me know if you guys do. Put it in the comments below. So with everything, with buying and holding and hoping for prices to go up, is it an investment? Is it not? Maybe we'll talk about that later. But I think the question is always, what is the bet? What is the bet that you are making, right? Here, what is the bet? Because ultimately, you are making a bet that the price is going to go up. If you're entering into this space, that is the ultimate bargain that you are making. Because the alternatives are, you could have put $100 that otherwise you would have invested or made the bet for into One Piece anywhere else. It could have been Pokemon, it could have been private equity assets, it could have been an ETF, right? It could have been S&P 500. You are making a bet into the game that you think that the price of One Piece is going to go up higher than than anything else, right? That's the bet that you're making. And oftentimes when people invest, they end up thinking that they're going to make a lot of money, and they end up not making a lot of money, right? So this is this little guy right here, looking at his 2 paths. In fact, this was me for a very long time, right? I was investing all over the place. I made these crazy investments over the last 15 years of my life, and honestly, I made a lot of bad investments over here that went to the right when it should have been something like this, right? I've been in the investing world, or I've been in the finance world for pretty much 15 years at this point. I work in investing, and honestly, I wish I knew what I know now, because I'm pretty sure I would have ended up here on the left here. But honestly, I'm probably somewhere in the middle. You know, one leg into the Magic Kingdom, one leg into Witch's Castle, right? So, you know, if I had known what I know now, I would have been over here, right? And the thing is, it's really, really hard when you are right here, like as this little guy trying to decide how you invest, to know which side you're going to go, because future is always so uncertain. So we're going to talk about how to maybe think about One Piece and whether it's going to go to the left or going to go to the right here. So I think, first of all, it's always important to think about things in frameworks. So if you're thinking about in a framework, I think Pokemon is the best analogy for One Piece, and we're going to talk about why in a little bit. But if you look at TCG for Pokemon, there's 30 to 50 million active players and collectors right now that generate Pokemon $1 billion annually, out of the 400 to 700 million people worldwide that have some level of engagement with Pokemon. I think this is maybe even understating it. I think it could be more. And in fact, I think this number is just going to go like this. It's going to go straight up over time, right? Of course, in the middle, it's probably a little bit like this, but I think over time, it's going to go straight up. And I think over time, the collector and player base is going to track to that, right? They keep having new Pokemon sets that come out, new games that come out, more and more people that engage with it. And frankly, new ideas like Pokemon have become less and less and less over time. People just don't really want to invest into creativity. And for that, as that being the case, less competition. So I think that Pokemon is where One Piece wants to get to. Is where One Piece one day potentially could get to, maybe. So if we divide, right, that 40 million, so it's 30 to 50 million active players and collectors, out of the 400 to 700 million people worldwide that have some level of engagement with Pokemon, that's 7.3%, right? That's almost 1 in 10, 1 in 15-ish individuals that engage into the Pokemon game as a collector for the TCG. And that's a huge number of people, right? And that's why, as people continue to engage with the game, my kids are probably going to play, or they're definitely going to play Pokemon at some point. Your kids are probably going to play Pokemon at some point. Many people's kids are going to do that. And as I age and as other people age, the total addressable market, the TAM, if you will, it's that 400, 700 million people, that's going to go up. And as a result, I think that, 30 to 50 million, that might even be understating it. There's a lot of very casual people that buy a pack here and there that probably don't get counted into that active level. But if you like to open a booster box here and there, like to open a booster pack here and there, it doesn't get really counted, right? You're not going to the conventions. You're not really going to the tournaments or whatever, right? So it doesn't get counted in this. I think that number is understating it. But let's just go with that 7.3%. How does that compare? How does Pokemon compare with the other ones? It is the biggest, right? Magic the Gathering, 35 million players. So right now, One Piece is probably only about 10% as large. Pokemon, One Piece is only 5 to 10% as large as from a TCG perspective. And then it's already surpassed Dragon Ball, which I thought was really, really interesting. This is year 2. It already surpassed Dragon Ball Super TCG. And that definitely, that probably includes, or that might not include the Fusion World game, but Fusion World is not really that large. So let's just say One Piece is already above Dragon Ball right now. I believe it is, right? So how many people are playing One Piece? I think that's probably the biggest question. And in fact, if you look at the total addressable market, it's 300 to 400 million people that's part of the One Piece franchise. That's huge. That's a huge amount of people. Right? That's about half the size of Pokemon, and arguably larger than the One Piece, than the Magic the Gathering ecosystem. Right? I think at some point someone said Magic the Gathering was actually there's like 300 million or whatever lifetime users of Magic the Gathering, which is smaller than the total individuals who are estimated to be part of the One Piece universe, right? But right now, there's only about, by 2026, there's going to be 5 million players, right? So 5 million divided by 350 million, right? What is that? I'm just going to calculate it right now on my phone. 5 divided by 350, that's only 1.4%. 1.4%. If you remember, if we're just making a very small size bet here that it could trend like Pokemon, that One Piece could trend like Pokemon, you could get to 7.3%. We're only at 1.4%, right? And the thing is, unlike Dragon Ball, where new Dragon Ball is probably not going to come out for too much at a high cadence, right? Unfortunately, death of the creator has really impacted Dragon Ball. But One Piece, I think, Oda's going to keep writing One Piece for a long time. The anime is going to keep coming out. There's going to be more live action stuff. There's going to be more video games that come out for it. So overall, I do think that this 1.4% is going to go up. Yeah, I do think that the 300, 400 total reach is going to go up as well, but maybe not as much as Pokemon. Pokemon is just an absolute juggernaut. But I do think that the penetration rate, giggity, we talk about penetration rate a lot in finance, and I just have a dirty mind. I think about it, I'm just like, that guy said penetration rate again. Anyways, I do think penetration rate is going to go up higher here. Is it going to be at 7.3%? I don't know, but I do think that it's going to deepen as well to something higher than 1.4%. So if we think of, what it could be, right? In the grand scheme of things, would it be like Ponzi? Would it be a Ponzi scheme? I think people think about Pokemon or think about TCGs, collectibles as sometimes like a Ponzi scheme. Is it a Ponzi scheme? Yeah, I don't think it is, right? A Ponzi scheme where you need new people to come in to really make the older investors whole. I think. Do I think it's going to be like a Ponzi scheme? Nah, I probably don't think it's going to be a Ponzi scheme. Out of the grand scheme of how I plan to invest versus how I end up investing, I think if you're here and you have on your hands a lot of One Piece, I think it's probably going to look closer to this, how I plan to invest, right? This nice magical kingdom scenario. Not 100%, of course, and not always will the path look like this, but I think over time, my sense is it's going to be more closer to this than the other side of things. So, of course, over time, people think that when you invest in anything, it's going to be a straight line, but really, it's going to be like this, right? We're probably at an up cycle, and we're going to see maybe down cycles like this at some point. Whether that's a year from now, whether that's 6 months from now, I don't know. But I do think that we're going to see these drawdowns, and then you're going to have All these people, especially around here, you know, they're going to be like, I'm just going to draw this face. They're going to say, I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. Like, you should have never have bought up here. Maybe. You should have never bought here. You should have never bought here. Things are always going to go down forever. But, if I just think about the framework here, I don't really agree with that. You're going to get people that say this all the time when things are bad. I do think that more and more people are going to play the One Piece game. I do think that more over time, the game is going to end up pretty successful. Is it going to be Pokemon? Probably not. Nothing's going to... Lightning's not going to strike twice. Pokemon was lightning. But is it going to be big and successful as a franchise? Yeah, I absolutely believe that's going to be the case. Is it, more like Magic the Gathering? Is it more like... Or is it going to be like between Magic the Gathering and Dragon Ball? I have no idea. But I do think that... it's already going to be better than Dragon Ball. Worst case scenario is already out the door. I don't think that it's going to be like Magic the Gathering, because I think the player base is going to be much younger overall. Because One Piece, even though there's a lot of adult themes in One Piece, it is for kids, right? There's a lot of uplifting kid-oriented themes in there that adults can enjoy as well. But I do think that over time, it is going to skew younger. It's not just going to be Rudolfo from Alpha Investments and his cohort of I don't want to call them old, because that just makes me feel old, because I'm also like aging into my 30s. Those guys are probably like mid 40s, but I do think that over time, the age cohort of Magic the Gathering is going to be much older, whereas Pokemon, Dragon Ball, One Piece going to skew younger for the reasons I've already talked about. Now, I had a comment that said, I can't believe now this is going now, like they're going to rotate out of these four sets and prices are going up. I can't believe that. That makes no sense to me. So that was one of my comments. And to just answer it directly, of course it's going to go up, right? If these four sets are rotating out, prices are going to go up. The end. That's just how things work in the collector space, right? There's no more reprints. Prices are going to be collectible, or at a point where it's going to be more collectible. And what I want to see is some of the top cards in these sets move up as well. And I think that's going to be very important to monitor, because I think that's truly what's going to drive collectability over time. So, is it an investment? So, is One Piece an investment? If we think about this, right, and let's just kind of do this. Is there an active market? Man, this is hard to use. Yes, there's an active market. Is it tradable? Yeah, TCG Player, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, absolutely tradable. Is there any governing structure? And governing structure meaning like the SEC, are there rules to this, right? And I would just say kinda. Is it? It's not an X. It's not a check mark though, right? We know Bandai is kind of goofy in how they manage things. So governing structure is the biggest question mark, but I would say leaning towards yes on this. So just finally, do I think One Piece is an investment? I'd say yeah. I think over time, I think yes. Like One Piece is sealed as an investment. Some of the top end cards probably an investment as well. So I do think again, this is probably going to be the case on the left here. For One Piece, obviously could be wrong, but I think if you're just thinking of bets, nothing's ever a guaranteed bet. When someone tells you it's a guaranteed bet, it's probably a Ponzi scheme. you know, so nothing's ever going to be a guaranteed bet. But 75-25, 70-30. I think things are going to work out. That's just me. That's just one man's opinion. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you think One Piece is investable? Do you think I'm entirely right? Do you think I'm entirely wrong? Do you think, are you buying and holding for the long term? Let me know, guys. I do think that I just want to hear what you guys believe. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys are having a great day. And congratulations to the winners. Again, if you didn't win this time, there's plenty more opportunities coming. Just hit that notification bell. And yeah, and I'll talk to you guys next time.